What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So in today's video, we did get the information that, treasure map Nami's coming. Unfortunately, the boosted list for the treasure map was a little bit bugged. We can't actually see all the boosted characters yet. Once we do get the full boosted list, that is when I'll be able to bring you guys the preparation video with some suggested teams with point values and stuff like that. So we just have to wait for that boosted list to come through, and then I can bring you guys the preparation video. But before we do that, luckily we also got some other information to talk about, which is the limit break expansion, which is going to be coming after April 15th PST time, which is the same day as the treasure map Nami. That's when treasure map actually begins. It's the same day as this. The treasure map Sugo Fest begins tomorrow as of me recording this video, and this is going to be coming on the same day as the actual treasure map, not the Sugo Fest, but the treasure map. So there are a couple of characters, or a few characters, that we will be talking about in this video. We are on the One Piece Treasure Cruise database, of course, and we're just going to be talking about all of these limit break pluses, discuss whether or not they're worth it, and just giving my thoughts and opinions on them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, there are two treasure map characters that are getting limit break expansions. With the first batch of limit break plus, we got Whitebeard and Ace from the treasure map. Both of those guys got limit break expansions, and they seemed okay. I personally used one of my keys on Whitebeard because I really wanted his cooldown to be much lower, and it's actually a really nice buff to him. So the other characters that are also getting one, Kizaru is also getting one. Treasure map Kizaru, we go by Dex, this guy right here. So unfortunately, Kizaru is probably one of the least used treasure map characters in the entire game. I did make a I did make a tier list video talking about my personal favorite, or the one that I would suggest maxing out in terms of the best treasure map characters a couple months back, and Kizaru was near the bottom. He is just a non-desirable unit. He's okay. He has reasonable abilities, right? So he has the ability to cut the HP of one enemy by 20%. He will lock your orbs for one turn, and he boosts the attack of all characters that are the same type as your captain by 1.75 times for 3 turns. And he just has a pretty unusable captain ability, in my personal opinion. He's okay, but he's nothing crazy. For his limit break expansion, when you unlock it with a key, he gets a bunch of stat boost and 2 turns of special cooldown. So when he is fully maxed out, limit break expansion, these are his stats right here. So he gets 200 additional attack, he gets 350 additional HP, some additional recovery is pretty good too. So across the board, stats are looking really good. And then, as we said, 2 turns of special cooldown. So 10 turn cooldown for what he does is reasonable, but again, I don't think it's really that big of a priority to go ahead and max out. The other character that also gets a limit break expansion is Boa Hancock. Boa Hancock gets the limit break expansion. I was also told that apparently there's going to be a sale on the treasure map bazaar where you can spend less tickets to actually max this character out. So if you haven't done that yet, I would suggest maxing her out during this Halloween period, because apparently her ticket cost is going to be a lot less. So this is a pretty good opportunity to go ahead and do that. So for her limit break expansion, unlock it with a key, and she'll go ahead and get 3 turns of special cooldown and also some additional stats. So if we go ahead over to her stats, she gets a pretty nice amount of HP, decent attack power, decent recovery power, across the board looking pretty good. And then the 3 turns of cooldown is really good, honestly, because 13 turn cooldown for what she does is actually like hella good. 16 turns for what she did was a little excessive, and there were certain situations where you'd have to stall a decent amount to get it ready to go. But the fact that you can get it down to a 13 turn cooldown, remember, she does have double special activation. You can use her special twice in the same turn, which is nice to have. So look, across the board, she's fine, but again, she's kind of like Kizaru in the fact that she doesn't really see that much play. The only reason you'd really be using this character is if you have an int captain, or if you have a captain that is a shooter based character. Basically, those are the only situations you're utilizing Boa Hancock, but she is a decent unit overall. So those are the only 2 characters that are getting limit break expansions with this batch. So now we can go ahead and talk about some Sugo Fest exclusive characters. So the first one we're going to talk about, well, I guess while we're here, Boa Hancock version 1 is getting a limit break expansion. So this character, again, another character that really doesn't see much play in the game. So let's see what they did with her limit break plus. So at level 30, you have to unlock the key, or level 31, you unlock it with a key. She gets some stat boost and 4 turns of special cooldown, and that is it. So her stats now after the limit break expansion look like this. She now with Cotton Candy will have over 2,000 attack, which is very good. She'll have an additional an additional pretty good amount of recovery there. That's actually a really, really good amount. So with the cotton candy, she'll have over nearly 800 recovery, which is honestly pretty good. But looking at what she does, her abilities didn't change. She didn't get a buffed captain ability. A 9-turn cooldown for what she does is fine, but she doesn't really provide much. She's a 1.75 attack booster. She delays, and that's basically it. Like, she does a little bit of orb manipulation depending on certain situations. Like, she's nothing great. She really isn't. She's a little disappointing. It would have been nice if they buffed her captain ability, because even with her super evolution, she really wasn't a usable captain. She was still only a 2.75 captain upon super evolving, which is pretty underwhelming, and they really didn't do much here. So unfortunately, Boa isn't really that good. Obviously, the regular 6-star version is also has the capabilities to Limit Break Plus, but again, it's not really worth it, because the amount of materials that you have to spend to Limit Break Plus a legend compared to like a treasure map character or a rare recruit is significant. Like, you need a lot of materials to do this, and it really isn't worth it, especially for a character like Boa Hancock. Just her abilities just aren't amazing. If they got buffed captain abilities, at that point you could really, decide for yourself whether you wanted to do it, but Boa Hancock really isn't that good. So the next one is going to be NL. Everyone loves NL, especially when his 6+ first came out. Everyone was using this guy. He was used so much. But let's talk about what they've done here with his Limit Break Plus. So, of course, stats across the board do get a little bit of a buff. Only 50 HP, 150 attack, 150 recovery. So the recovery boost is nice because of the way that NL is built. But other than that, he doesn't get anything. He literally only gets stat boost. They didn't even reduce his cooldowns, which is a little unfortunate. Obviously, he gets natural cooldown with regular Limit Break. But when he expands his Limit Break, there's no additional cooldown on top of that, which is a little unfortunate. They didn't buff his captain ability, also unfortunate. So NL, unless if you really love NL, that's the only reason you should be doing it, because his Limit Break Plus is quite terrible. So we can move on from that relatively quickly. The next one that we have on this list here is going to be Sabo. So we're talking about the green Sabo, this guy right here. This guy also gets a Limit Break expansion. So let's look at his stats. Across the board, he gets a pretty sizable HP increase. He gets a 200 additional attack, which is a big difference, and a little bit of a recovery boost. So when we go down to his Limit Break Plus, he gets 2 turns of special cooldown reduction, which is good. That means he goes down to 12 turns for his 3 times chain lock and a 2.25 times orb boost to 3 separate classes in the game. Very good. I would say this is honestly worth spending your key on to max his Limit Break if you own Halloween Ace, because this guy is a great sub for Halloween Ace, because he provides the fighter and shooter characters with the 2.25 orb boost, and then if you have Ace, you've got a 2.5 times type boost. This guy also provides a chain lock. Like, there's lots of good benefits you get from Halloween Ace and this guy on the same team. So that's the only situation that I would suggest spending a key to Limit Break this guy, is if you have Halloween Ace and he's like your main character, like you use him all the time, then I would probably suggest it. But outside of that, probably not. You should probably save your key and save your materials for other characters. So look, he's cool, but I don't really think it's worth it overall. So the second last character we're going to talk about is going to be yet another shooter character, which is going to be Capone. I'm a big fan of this character. I think he's really cool, but let's have a look at his Limit Break Plus. His stats across the board: massive HP boost, decent attack boost, and a little bit of a recovery boost. Now, all the stats across the board are very important for Capone. As a captain, he is an attack boost, obviously, for shooters. He also is a health booster for shooters. So having more health gives you more overall health with that multiplier boost. And when you have 6 shooters on your crew, you heal depending on how many perfects you hit. So additional recovery is also greatly beneficial to Capone. All stats across the board are very important for this character. So the fact that he does get those boosts is important. As for his cooldown, he does get 1 additional cooldown with the expansion. So 15 turn cooldown for a 2 times attack boost to shooters, and then he gives you the Big Father effect, which we all know and love. But yeah, that's all he gives you. He gives you cooldown by 1 turn and a bunch of stat boosts. So again, it's similar in the fact that if you use this character a lot, yes, I would suggest Limit Break Plus. But again, he's nothing crazy. This batch of Limit Break Pluses are a little underwhelming, and you really shouldn't be going out of your way to max these characters' Limit Break. They're just nothing that good that you should be spending all of those materials to max these guys, as I said, unless if you use them very often. If it's a character you use all the time, I don't see a problem in expanding their Limit Break. Like, personally, I used my first Legend Key Limit Break ability to max their Limit Break on Snake Man, because he's a character that I use all the time. His support ability, when you expand his Limit Break, also benefits from that as well. So it makes sense to use it on a character like Snake Man, which is a character you use all the time, right? But like Capone, there's not too many circumstances where you're going to go ahead out of your way to use this guy. Unless if you're that type of player that does that, then I would suggest it. But personally, I don't think it's a good idea. Now, there is one other character we're going to talk about very briefly before we end this video. And lo and behold, it is the boy, Mr. Log Luffy. So Log Luffy does get a limit break expansion, and unfortunately, once again, they have kind of screwed the pooch with this one. They really didn't do a good job in expanding his limit break, buffing this character. Look, he still needs a 6+, and we're hoping that that comes at some point down the line. We don't know yet. I mean, this is the oldest character in the game without a super evolution, so we are hoping he gets one eventually. But, you know, with all the drama surrounding the Log Luffy, we don't really understand if, or really know if that's ever going to happen. But hopefully it does. But as for his stat boosts, he gets a lot of HP, he gets a lot of attack, and he gets a small smidge amount of recovery. But look, the recovery is... You can completely ignore the recovery, that doesn't make any difference. But he now has 2,000 attack, 4,000 HP, and obviously with cotton candies, it's 2,200 attack, which is huge. That's massive. But look at this. No captain ability change. His special ability obviously is the same. With his limit break expansion, he goes down to a 5-turn cooldown. A 5-turn cooldown to give random typeless damage to all enemies and a guaranteed matching orb on himself. And the random damage is between 70 to 200,000 damage, which is... whatever. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's it. He gets 4 turns of cooldown and some stat boosts. That is it. I remember when this first came out on JP, everyone was really upset. Well, everyone was excited at first, seeing that Log Luffy was going to get an expanded limit break. Everyone was getting really excited and was anticipating this release. And no captain ability change is a pretty underwhelming limit break expansion. So there we go. That's all of the characters that are getting a limit break expansion in this current batch. Nothing too crazy, as we said. You know, Boa Hancock, Sabo, Capone, Eneru, Log Luffy, and then the treasure map characters of Hancock and Gazzara. It's underwhelming, but, you know, we're going to look forward. There are better limit break pluses coming down the line. I said this in probably my last video talking about limit break expansion, but Legend Cracker is the one I'm waiting for because he gets 3 turns of cooldown reduction, and he's a character that I personally use a lot, and having that, getting access to that is going to be great. But there are lots of better limit break expansions coming on down the line, so I would say start saving your materials for that, unless, as I said, if there's characters on this list that we talked about today that you use all the time, you know, go for it. You know, it's Treasure Cruise. You play how you want to play. If it's a character you use a lot, go ahead and do that. But that is going to end this video today, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you guys did, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.